Level 1, Schola Orphan. You do not remember the sound of your mother's voice, nor the face of your father. You know only that they were officers of the Astra Militarum, and that they died somewhere far away in the frozen vacuum of space or beneath the treads of an alien war machine. Because their deaths were honorable, the Imperium grants you its highest mercy. You are spared the slaving pits of the Underhive and delivered to the Schola Progenium. You are brought through massive, iron-ribbed gates into a world constructed entirely of cold Gothic granite, slate-gray shadows, and the suffocating stench of sacred oil and burning tallow. You are stripped of your civilian rags, your hair is sheared to the scalp, and your birth name is struck from all Imperial records. From this moment on, you are a progena, a nameless ward of the God Emperor. Your home is a cold stone cell shared with 40 other silent, hollow-eyed orphans. Your days are measured not by sunrise or sunset, but by the relentless ringing of iron bells and the stern, echoing footsteps of the drill abbots. These monolithic men, scarred veterans of distant wars, walk the vaulted corridors with heavy cybernetic limbs and electroflails tucked beneath their thick wool cloaks. They do not offer warmth, comfort, or pity. When you weep in the dark from hunger or exhaustion, a drill abbot's lash teaches you that tears are a waste of moisture and a betrayal of duty. You spend long hours scrubbed down on your knees, scouring the flagstones with lye until your fingers bleed, singing low, solemn litanies to the Imperial Creed. You learn to recite the Lex Imperialis before you learn to read a map. You learn that human life is worthless unless it is spent as currency in the Emperor's divine grand war. You watch as weaker children collapse during midnight forced marches through icebound courtyards, their motionless bodies carried away in silence by blind servitors, never to be seen again. You do not mourn them. You simply adjust your step, swallow the cold gruel served in rusted iron bowls, and keep your eyes fixed upon the towering eagle banners hanging from the vaulted rafters above. Level 2, Indoctrinated Cadet. The soft, fragile skin of childhood is stripped away, replaced by calluses, dark purple bruises, and the jagged white scars of live-fire training. You are selected for the Ordo Tempestus, the elite combat wing of the Schola, because your aptitude tests show a complete lack of hesitation, an analytical mind, and an unnerving resistance to trauma. You are no longer just an orphan. You are a cadet, a weapon being forged in the crucible of ruthless discipline. Every morning begins with brutal physical conditioning. Hundreds of miles run across iron grate catwalks while wearing lead-weighted training carapace. Hours spent scaling sheer ferrocrete kill walls under heavy simulated fire. Your body is pushed past human tolerance until your lungs burn with blood and your muscles tear. But physical strength is only the foundation. Your mind must be systematically rewired. Nightly, you are strapped into the cold embrace of a hypnomantic conditioning chair. Neural needles pierce your temples, forcing high-voltage streams of tactical schematics, weapon schematics, target recognition arrays, and fanatical indoctrination directly into your cerebral cortex. You dream of weapon disassembly, grav-shoot deployment vectors, and kill zones. You learn to disassemble a hotshot loss gun in pitch darkness while blindfolded, your fingers moving with mechanical, automated precision. In the combat pits, you are given real weapons and pitted against your fellow cadets in merciless hand-to-hand combat. If you falter, if you display sympathy for a fallen squadmate, the drill abbot's shock staff brings you to your knees, shocking your nervous system until you vomit blood. You watch as cadets who exhibit signs of mental instability are dragged off by black-robed inquisitorial agents or hauled away to be converted into lobotomized servitors to sweep the armory floors. You learn that pain is merely an input of information, fear is a biological error to be suppressed, and obedience must be as absolute as the pull of gravity. Level 3, Scion Trooper. You stand inside the dark, thrumming troop bay of a Valkyrie assault lander, locked into a magnetic drop harness. You wear the pitch-black and deep crimson carapace armor of the Militarum Tempestus. Your head is sealed within an ominous, full-face respirator helmet. Its brass-rimmed ocular lenses glow with a cold, pale red light, feeding a stream of heat signatures, wind speeds, and target tracking vectors directly across your field of vision. Below you lies a nightmare war zone, a hive world choked in black industrial smoke. ripped apart by artillery flak and the fiery trails of incoming drop pods. The red deployment light overhead flashes to brilliant, blinding green. The ramp drops, and the ice-cold rush of upper atmosphere air slams into your chest. You drop. You leap into the abyss at terminal velocity, falling through thousands of feet of burning clouds and anti-aircraft shrapnel. You do not feel the instinctual panic of a normal human falling toward their death. Your mind calculates descent velocity, wind shear, and terrain altitude with cold, computerized clarity. At the absolute last possible second, your back-mounted grav chute bursts to life with a pressurized hiss, counteracting your kinetic force and slamming your boots onto the ferrocrete roof of a renegade command bunker. Before the smoke clears, your weapon is raised. You wield a hotshot loss gun, a high-potency energy weapon fed by an armored power cable connected directly to the heavy reactor pack strapped to your spine. You pull the trigger. The beam does not snap with a flash. It roars like a crack of thunder, burning with sun-bright intensity as it burns through reinforced steel doors and heavy body armor like parchment. You advance in total silence, moving in perfect interlocking fire teams with your squad. You double-tap every target through the center of mass, clearing room after room with terrifying, mechanical speed. You do not yell, you do not boast, and you do not execute out of anger. You are a scalpel cutting away a tumor, leaving only blood and scorched stone in your wake. Level 4, Hotshot Specialist. The squad relies on raw firepower to punch through the impossible, and you are the one chosen to bear that lethal burden. You are upgraded to a Hotshot Specialist, trusted with heavy, temperamental energy weaponry that can melt bunker bulkheads or turn alien monstrosities into ash in a fraction of a second. Strapped to your back is a dual-core energy generator that thrums against your shoulder blades with a low, bone-rattling vibration, radiating heat so intense that the paint on the rear plates of your carapace armor blisters and turns black. In your hands, you grip a hotshot volley gun, a heavy, twin-barreled assault weapon capable of spitting a continuous stream of armor-piercing laser fire. When you open fire into a choke point, the noise is deafening, a continuous, tearing screech that drowns out the screams of the dying. Blue-white energy bolts shear through heavy battle tanks, cut down charging alien beasts, and turn traitor space marines into steaming piles of liquefied ceramite and meat. Alternatively, when the squad faces super heavy armor, you step forward carrying a meltagun or an unstable plasma gun. You feel the searing heat of the plasma coil through your thick insulated gloves, glowing with the terrifying brightness of a miniature star. You step past the retreating lines of regular Imperial guardsmen, who stare at you with wide, terrified eyes as you push toward the breach. You stand face-to-face with towering alien war engines or hulking warbands of chaos, holding your position until the target is less than 10 paces away. You press the rune of activation. The heat discharge bleeds into your helmet's air scrubbers, filling your lungs with the sharp metallic taste of ionized ozone and burnt insulation. You are a walking furnace of Imperial wrath, carrying weapons that threaten to vent superheated gas and burn you alive with every shot. Yet your hands do not tremble as you deliver absolute destruction to the enemies of mankind. Level 5, Tempestor. You have survived 100 drops where others were torn to pieces, and now the heavy burden of field command rests squarely upon your shoulders. You are promoted to Tempestor. You no longer carry a standard hellgun. In your right hand, you wield a lethal power sword that crackles with a humming, blue disruption field, and in your left, a high-caliber plasma pistol or bolt pistol. Mounted to your chest plate is an array of Vox scramblers and a skull-adorned command rod that streams high-priority tactical data directly into your helmet HUD. Through your Vox bead, you hear the chaotic screech of the wider war zone, screams of dying guardsmen, panic calls for retreat, the deafening thunder of heavy artillery, but within your squad's encrypted channel, there is only absolute, icy silence. Your voice drops to a flat, emotionless drone as you issue fire discipline orders. Fire Team Alpha, suppress enemy heavy weapon team at Mark 4. Fire Team Beta, advance through breach. You lead from the front, the first to jump from the Valkyrie ramp, the first to breach a reinforced door, the first to plunge your power blade through the heart of an alien commander. When a Scion in your squad is struck down beside you, their torso torn open by heavy caliber fire or alien talents, you do not stop to call for a medic, nor do you feel a pang of personal loss. You register their death as a minor tactical variable, a drop in squad firepower by 10%. You step directly over their bleeding corpse, reassign their remaining ammunition reserves to the surviving troopers via your HUD, and adjust your angle of attack. You drive your squad forward with merciless, unrelenting force, demanding nothing less than absolute perfection. You know that every life under your command belongs to the Emperor, and you will spend them precisely where they yield the highest tactical return. Level 6, Tempestor Prime. You step out of the dirt and blood of the front lines and into the elevated tactical realm of dynamic operational command. As a Tempestor Prime, you command an entire drop force, multiple squads of Scions, heavy fire support teams, arrays of Taurox Prime armored vehicles, and air transport squadrons of Valkyries and Vendettas. You stand inside the armored command pod of a droplander or high above the battlefield in the cockpit of a stealth command vessel, staring down at a glowing, three-dimensional hololith map of an entire planetary continent. The map is a swirling sea of red enemy signatures and green allied icons. While Lord Generals of the Astra Militarum cower in deep bunkers and throw millions of conscripts into grinding meat grinders, you operate with surgical precision. You do not fight wars of attrition. You locate the enemy's heart and crush it in a single strike. You coordinate complex, multi-stage drop operations into zones deemed suicidal by standard military commanders. With a flick of your gloved hand across the hololith table, you direct 100 Scions to drop directly onto the roof of an enemy Titan garage, while simultaneously ordering a squad of Taurox Primes to crash through the perimeter gates of a traitor planetary palace. You work closely with the commissariat and officers of the Inquisition, treating them not with fear, but with cold, professional detachment. They respect you because you do not hesitate to make hard, brutal calculations. When a hive city's defense grid fails, you do not send your troops to save the civilians. You order your Scions to drop onto the primary fusion reactors, setting them to overload to deny the hive to the enemy, vaporizing millions of Imperial citizens alongside the invading alien horde. You view the entire sector as a complex mathematical equation where blood is the input and cold victory is the only acceptable output. Level 7, Regimental Commandant. You are no longer merely a field officer. You are a Lord of War, the supreme ruler of a full Tempestus regiment. You command thousands of elite stormtroopers, an entire fleet of atmospheric and void drop transports, vast armories of heavy weaponry, and an army of logistics servitors, tech priests, and drill instructors. You answer only to the highest levels of Imperial authority, Sector High Command, the Grand Master of the Ordo Tempestus, and the Inquisitorial Representative. You attend high strategic councils aboard massive Imperial battleships, standing shoulder to shoulder with arrogant space marine chapter masters, highborn Lord High Admirals, and ruthless Inquisitors. Where others argue, bluster, and play political games for glory, you sit in absolute, terrifying silence, your face obscured by a high-collared, gold-embroidered uniform and a stern, expressionless officer mask. When you speak, your voice is cold, dry, and devoid of ambition. You do not ask for glory, territory, or honor. You request coordinates, strike parameters, and acceptable casualty margins. You manage entire planetary campaigns across multiple star systems simultaneously. From your Grand War Room, you sign execution orders for entire Imperial Guard regiments that have shown signs of cowardice or ideological contamination, ordering your Scions to deploy and eradicate their former comrades with cold, systematic efficiency. You send thousands of men and women who were raised in the same Schola corridors as you to their absolute deaths, watching their biomonitors flatline on your master displays without a single twitch in your pulse. You have become the ultimate expression of Imperial doctrine, a living, breathing instrument of total compliance, incapable of remorse, immune to pity, and driven solely by the cold arithmetic of total galactic dominance. Level 8, High Imperial Executioner. You have transcended the standard hierarchy of the Imperial military machine. You have been handpicked by the highest, most secretive authorities in the Imperium, the High Lords of Terra and the Lord Inquisitors of the Ordo Hereticus and Ordo Malleus, to serve as a high Imperial executioner, the shadow hand of absolute judgment. You do not command regiments in open warfare anymore. You are deployed when an entire world, a planetary governor, or a renegade space marine chapter must be erased from history without leaving a whisper. You travel aboard a dark, void stealth corvette that carries no heraldry or Imperial insignias. You wear master-crafted carapace armor wrought from dark pigmented adamantine, adorned with ancient purity seals written in the blood of martyrs, and carry weapons pulled from the most secret vaults of the Adeptus Mechanicus. When a High Lord of Terra marks a planetary regime as heretical, you do not launch a crusade. You drop silently from the void into the high-spire bedchambers of the traitor governor. You lead elite, black-clad kill teams through impossibly secure fortresses, bypassing void shields, automated sentry turrets, and elite bodyguards like ghosts. You break into the inner sanctum, step over the bleeding bodies of the governor's personal guard, and stand over the trembling traitor. You do not read their charges. You do not grant them a trial, nor do you allow them to beg for mercy. You raise your heavy plasma pistol, its deep azure glow reflecting off your polished, featureless brass visor. You pull the trigger, vaporizing the traitor and burning their throne to melted slag. You leave the palace in silence as your stealth transports drop incendiary bombs across the spire, reducing the entire city to a mountain of glowing ash. You walk back up the boarding ramp of your ship, your boots leaving bloody footprints upon the landing gear. You enter a stasis vault, lock your armor into place, and sit in absolute, motionless darkness, waiting in cold, unyielding silence for the High Lords to call upon their executioner once more.